That's loud, huh?
It's loud. It's loud. Kevin, you got the job.
You have to kind of feel sorry for Paul Feig. He spent all these years being celebrated for some properly decent work, but he was rewarded with a false sense of security that he could pointlessly rewrite one of the most beloved movies of the last 50 years and everyone would be okay with it. He didn't exactly get off on the right foot from day one, with his initial story treatment being met with a considerable amount of opposition and his almost complete disregard for the thoughts and hopes of Ivan Reitman tainted the idea immediately. Wait, ghost aliens? Still the discussions continued. Seth Rogen, Emma Stone and Charlie Day were tipped to appear in the film. Funnily enough, Leslie Jones was one of the first actors actually spoken to about the project and saw it through to the end, which is a real positive as she's the best part of the film. The trailer, not so much.
Get out of my friend, Ghost! Ow, that's gonna leave a mark. The power of panic compels you! Ow!
But of course the film was bankrolled by Sony, who despite making billions per annum with their gaming systems, still have no problem throwing cash at hacks like Adam Sandler for minimal returns, with never a thought for their quality or their own credibility. And about that trailer, I'm really not sure how they expected it to be received, given how it was put together. It starts well enough, and I'm a sucker for slow piano renditions of well-known themes, especially something as iconic as the Ghostbusters scene. But after that it's just falling off a cliff in terms of watchability. And while I'm not convinced it was completely deserving of the colossal number of dislikes the video received, it was indeed bloody terrible as a vehicle to get bums on seats, darling.
That stuff went everywhere, by the way, in every crack. Very hard to wash off.
This is where they should have taken note of the reaction and taken a look at themselves and their product, but sadly not. They doubled down on their rusted jalopy while trying to sell it as an R8. Sorry for the obscure metaphor, but I've been spending a lot of time on Auto Trader lately. Paul Feig took the helm and started insulting Twitter users who were criticising the trailer. Sony backed him up by deleting generically critical comments on YouTube and leaving behind the overtly sexist and misogynistic ones. This led to a new narrative forming and one the filmmakers could exploit to their own ends. The feelers were deployed and everyone promoting the movie latched onto the notion that the only reason that the trailer was hated so much was because there were females taking the lead instead of guys. Looking for clicks and likes, news websites took up the torch and parroted the same nonsense. The simple fact of the matter was, the trailer made the film look bloody awful, and the actors came across as desperate and in many ways untalented. Leslie Jones came off the worst, and the hate she received as a result of it was wholly undeserved.
And I can borrow a car from my uncle.
You didn't disclose that the vehicle was going to be a hearse.
It's a Cadillac!
Just because you have an all-female lead, you should not expect your project to get a meritless seal of approval. Yes, there are some who will indeed give us an automatic and resounding thumbs up, regardless of the obvious lack of quality, only because of the all-female cast. And it could certainly be argued that so many movies are generally all-male-led, that when the lead or leads are female, it's still somewhat regarded as a gimmick instead of a breakthrough moment in equality. That's not a blanket statement though, but look at your classic action movies from the last 30 years or so. The Rock, Con Air, Bad Boys. 99% male cast with the ladies showing up to be the girlfriends, wives or feisty damsels in distress who still need rescuing. But even when there was a female cast in the lead of an action movie, they were dressed and marketed so they pandered to a predominantly male audience. Think Jolie's Tomb Raider with a massively enhanced chest, or Beckinsale's Celine from Underworld, dressed like she was dipped in latex. Strong female leads for sure, but in no way symbols of female empowerment. They were created and fashioned to appeal to a predominantly male audience because that's what makes the big monies. Sigourney Weaver's Ripley is the nearly sole exception to the rule, taking no shit and raking in the big bucks. But she's a virtual blip on the landscape and hasn't been duplicated. Even the sequels, while still with her character at the helm, became ensemble pieces, filled mostly by men. A recent attempt to level the field somewhat was Alex Garland's Annihilation, a movie with an almost all-female lead cast with Natalie Portman, Jennifer Jason Leigh and Tessa Thompson leading a team of world-class scientists sent to investigate a strange anomaly that's weirding up the DNA of everything inside a shimmery bubble. All female, diverse and intelligent, it was released in cinemas and on Netflix, but due to the almost non-existent marketing campaign, it barely broke even. This should have been the figurehead piece for female empowerment, but after the director told the producers to get knotted when they wanted to interfere by changing one of the characters and adding a happier ending, they figuratively gave up on it and just dumped it on Netflix. It's classed as a flop, but it's beginning to see a recent resurgence. If you want to see a movie with a strong female cast that doesn't pander to the lowest common denominator, I highly recommend it. Unfortunately, Gartland went on to direct Men, which I really wouldn't recommend, unless you want to be bored for 90 minutes and utterly confused for the last 20. By the way, if anyone actually figures out what the ending was supposed to signify, answers on a postcard please. But back to Ghostbusters. All the desperately forced marketing, Sony deleting constructive YouTube comments, making up garbage about actual nuclear physicists helping out with the Ghostbusting tech, and implying that they would take up legal action against Bill Murray if he didn't get involved, couldn't rescue the film when it was finally released to the public and they could see it for what it was.
Mike, what did you think of Ghostbusters 2016?
Well, you guys are gonna hate me again, but I loved it. No, I'm just fucking with you. It was the biggest piece of shit I've ever seen.
I've personally only ever walked out of a couple of movies in my time, and boy howdy was this nearly one of them.
Wow, you really got me.
You know what? Usually we can't even get people over here, but we have never.
She came right over.
Never had anybody actually put their face down close to the machine.
It's a cool joke. It was funny. It's disgusting.
Is it more or less disgusting if I tell you it came from the front?
I mean, how could anyone seriously consider this to be on a par with the original and its sequel? Screaming in the place of comedy, a secretary who was pointlessly dumber than a sack of bricks, horrific product placement, and a finale so oversaturated, I'm amazed there wasn't insulin on standby to counter all the sudden cases of ocular diabetes. Everyone on screen is a known and established actor, but this is lowering yourself lower than Al Pacino in a Dunkin' Donuts waistcoat. Apparently, Feig met with Ivan Reitman, who gave them plenty of pointers on what he would like to see in the movie. After all, it was his most successful baby. But by his own words, Feig didn't care.
The bottom line is that we heard Ivan and he made it clear that he wouldn't get in our way, that he would definitely weigh in on things but that in the end, the decisions were ours to make. We'll see if he sticks to that, but for now he feels heard and respected, and it was good to get inside his head. I genuinely like him and he remains one of my comedy directing heroes. So, all good at the moment. But we will make this movie our own. It will be a full reboot.
So basically, thanks but no thanks to the erstwhile auteur of the most famous comedic masterpiece of its time. Paul wants the glory by screwing over everything that made the original movies great, and nuts to the memories. Getting the remaining Ghostbusters on board wouldn't be that difficult. Bill was threatened, Dan was paying for some of it, Ernie will be in a Ghostbusters movie again at the drop of a hat. Or $100, whichever gets him back into the jumpsuit quicker. So on to Afterlife. Once that amazingly atmospheric trailer came out, we all knew this was going to be something we were missing from the 2016 clusterfuck. Leslie Jones tweeted that announcing another movie so soon was akin to something Trump would do. No, Trump would just look at how much money the movie made, give 2 thumbs up, and then try to look down the front of your jumpsuit. Sony makes movies to make money. Yours didn't make enough, probably due to the horrific amount of money spent on reshoots and defensive marketing. Jason and Ivan Reitman saw a chance to rescue their legacy and pitched the idea to Sony. The original cast were more empathetic to this idea, so gave their blessing, and it was worth it. While a subtle change in tone from the originals, the nods this time were respectful and inclusive, from character backstories to musical cues. Some have said that the ending was over schmaltzy, but what were they expecting? The story centres around the only actor who is no longer with us, so the film was a send-off to a character who was never really front and centre, but over the years became just as loved as the rest of the bunch.
Stop that!
So why should the current set of movies be only considered a trilogy? One word, respect. The 2016 effort had none, in inception, creation and marketing. You can bring back as many of the original cast as you like, but if they're not the same characters, what's the point? Filling the screen with garish colours, throwing advertising in our faces when we're supposed to be getting entertained, and bloody fart gags. But don't take my word for it, let's ask Max. Okay, Max, so you are 12 years old, you have autism and ADHD, you've just seen Ghostbusters 2016 for the first time.
I think it's 17.
No, it's 2016, trust me.
Okay.
Okay, what was your opinion?
It's a movie that's only funny once, and when it does, it's only funny like twice.
Right,
Yes.
okay. So overall, would you recommend other people watch it?
Terrible, no!
Thank you.
No.
Here endeth the lesson. It genuinely would have been more respectful to have done nothing and waited a few more years until someone who actually cared for the franchise came along.
I'm Ivan Reitman, director of Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2, better known as Dad.
And I'm his son, Jason Reitman, director of Ghostbusters Afterlife.